Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences per year for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, we've got someone coming back on the pod. Nad, how are you, sir? Nad, I got to actually do a proper intro for you. Nad is the VP of Innovation and Corporate Growth at GoodLife Fitness Canada. So Nad, how are you?
What a great drum roll. And as usual, you've got way too much energy. But it is your morning, my afternoon. So thank you for having me back.
To be fair, this is my third coffee too. So, you know, I mean, you hit me at peak coffee, peak caffeinated levels. Of course, so last time we spoke, you were at Evolution Wellness. And so there's been quite a decent chunk of time. I think 2 years since
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So I think, hey, look, just a little bit about your background, you know, where did fitness find you? Because I know there's stories, multiple stories in what you've done in your career. So go for it, sir.
It just makes me sound and feel like an old man when I recount this.
I get called the dinosaur of fitness these days. So, you know what I mean? So we're just going to take it on the chin.
Well, so I started as a PT back in the 90s, believe it or not. And my first job was actually in Canada, right across the street from a GoodLife, which I always rib patch about. You know? And at the time, fitness wasn't really viewed as a career. It wasn't seen as a serious job, right? Which for me at the time was actually part of the attraction. I did not want to be sitting behind a desk and punching the corporate clock, which is a bit ironic because I find myself doing that more and more now than I ever have in the past. So full circle. Following that short stint in Canada, I relocated to the UK. I was with local authority there for a few years, quickly becoming a regional fitness director. In those days, we were converting squash courts into gyms, which was quite exciting.
What was that, Cannons, or what was that?
Oh no, Cannons. So Cannons was a really cool club under Liverpool Street Station in London. So that wasn't a squash court conversion. That was a conversion of what used to be, I think it was storage for the railway systems in the UK. So they converted that. So this was the likes of where John Trahan started. Where we would take old squash courts, build a mezzanine floor in the middle, put the cardio up top, staircase, and then the strength on the bottom floor. Really interesting, actually, and it worked really well to the extent that after converting the first, we then took the next two squash courts and built all the way through. So interesting. Yeah, some interesting stuff. Then in the late 90s, I officially became an expat with a role, believe it or not, in Beirut, Lebanon, where I launched the fitness industry there. That was followed by a number of projects in Cairo. And from Cairo, Fitness First in the Middle East, launching that business in Dubai, opening clubs in Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Jordan, Lebanon. 2012, family relocated to the United States. We were in California. In California, working with World Gym. I then opened my own studio that I then sold, which was on the shores of La Jolla. If you've ever been to La Jolla, beautiful spot. During that time, I actually got to spend some time in Baghdad, and I opened consulting for a club that would have been the first commercial club across the street from the university in Baghdad, which unfortunately never opened. That was 2014. What happened after that? After that, I was headhunted for a role in Vietnam. CEO of Elite. Rapid expansion there over a course of 18 months that saw new clubs open in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. That led to a role with Celebrity Fitness as COO, based out of Indonesia.
We're all past.
That's right. We had clubs in Indo, in Malaysia, and Singapore at the time. 2017 saw the merger of the two behemoths in Asia, Celebrity Fitness and Fitness First, with my old pal Simon Flynn. I then relocated to Malaysia and took up the role as Director of Innovation and Growth. Funny, that title seems to be around. That was great. That was just a fantastic role. Got to really build Asia's first true HVLP brand, GoFit, which is still going strong. As you know, digital platforms everywhere. No live group fitness whatsoever. We use this company that you might be aware of, Wexer, to deliver on-demand content and scheduled content at GoFit. Still the only way to participate in any kind of group fitness in GoFit. Very successful. We then did some franchising activity with a boutique concept across Asia too. COVID hit, which we don't like to talk about, and then all roads kind of intersected and led to GoodLife.
Come full circle.
Also, I often tell Patch, in the 90s, you wouldn't give me a job in the 90s. And I was so frustrated by not being able to get a job with GoodLife. I had just kept on with it until 30 odd years later, I finally get a job.
He finally gave you a job. By the way, Patch is the owner of GoodLife Fitness. Started it in 1979.
1979. Yeah, last year celebrated 45 years last year.
That's right.
A behemoth in the industry. So now I work closely with Patch, who's CEO of the group, and Jeff Van Haren, who's the recent president of GoodLife Group. So I work closely with both guys on everything growth and innovation. As cliched as it may sound, it's been an extremely fulfilling journey to have experienced so many different cultures as part of what I do for work. With the motivation to bring health and fitness to so many people and broader populations, has been an awesome opportunity.
How what's been your biggest learning, I guess, because there's so much in there. I feel like we can go through each part of your life and go, what would be, out of all that travel, understanding different member demands, understanding different cultures and how they engage with fitness, what would be your big one, what out of all that? Because a lot of people, I feel, I think our industry has similar trends, but I think it's how those trends are higher or lower depending on what country you're in sometimes, right? And of course cultural differences. But for you, what's the biggest learning from, I guess, all the travel and understanding?
As you say, there are so many different learnings, right? I feel like a bit of a missionary for fitness, certainly in some of the emerging markets that I've been in. The consistent thing is that, most communities understand the need for fitness, for well-being. They do mostly strive for it. It's not unheard of or unknown that in those most sophisticated first world markets, people are actually frequently far less healthy than they are in some of the third world environments, right? We did an interesting study in Vietnam that showed that in the last 10 years, the rapid decline in health in Vietnam has largely due to the increase of availability of the motor vehicle in Vietnam, whereas previously it was either walking or cycling everywhere. Absolutely. So it's, and I think that despite what we often hear in different markets, actually all members are very much the same and are all looking for the same thing and all have the same demands. When you're in an emerging market, the advantage that we have is frequently that you don't have the legacy of the industry from the 60s or the 70s, right? So you're building modern clubs in a modern time with modern infrastructure. The adoption of technology is expected, therefore easy. So it makes building current clubs a lot easier. It's always simpler to do that than it is to retrofit an old site that may struggle with even access to Wi-Fi, right?
Yes, because for me, with all my travel, and we've talked about this, is it always comes down to me it's either we need to support or inspire our members. And whatever it is, whatever that journey looks like, if that's a brand new club where they don't even know what health clubs are, or if that's community leisure centre or the rest of it, it's all about. And I think, on my view at least, is that as we start to support, we also inspire, and then we get them hooked into the industry. And I just feel like that is the thing that I always take away from every industry that is exactly the same. Is that a fair comment, or am I?
No, absolutely. Look, it's a drug, right? Endorphins. Everybody loves it. It gets you hooked, and habit forming. As long as you're able to demonstrate real change for people and have them embrace and understand the impact that it's had on them, you've got them. You've got them for life, right? And frankly, I know Patch is all about this too. It's really the drive for people to adopt healthier lifestyles, right? And in some cases, that's not always with the business that you own and operate. They may go off and do that somewhere else. But the fact that you're able to bring that message, deliver it, and be an example of what that is every day is the key to being successful in this industry.
And with your knowledge, do you think we focus enough time on that? Like I feel, there's a lot of conversations about facility management now. Right location, we know the importance. Everyone on this, listening to this, knows the importance of the right location for any club. But are we spending enough time as an industry talking about how we support and inspire our members? Maybe is my question.
Not as an industry. There are a few brands out there who continue to put the member first. I'm proud to be part of an organization that continues to strive for that, putting the member first. It's at the heart of everything we do. How is the member going to feel about this? How are they going to react to that? Will they embrace this change, or will they push back on change? So those things are always considered before we do anything here, which is refreshing because the industry now is so soulless, so lifeless. They've got the necessity for touch points and human interaction. Right?
No, nice. And then diving into your role with GoodLife, you just give us a 90-second split of what does day to day look like for you?
Oh well, talking to people like you tends to take up a great deal of time.
Oh, you love it.
As we go about fixing the world and the industry's problems. So look, 2.5 years later at GoodLife, and it's been quite a roller coaster of a ride. I think the thing that surprised me most when I first got here was that the business had only really reopened 3 months before I got here, post-COVID. So
it was a long lockdown, eh?
So still very much in a period of recovery. And we didn't have really a recovery curve. It was more stratospheric, immediate trajectory where just this influx of people who were keen to get back into the gym in person. It was absolutely huge. So that in itself brings a number of challenges, making sure the facilities are well managed, making sure that we've got the right staff on the ground, getting all the PTs reactivated, all of that. So, but in terms of my role, look, I'm in a really, really unique position to be able to bring a bit of an external look and lens to what's happening with the rest of the industry around the world, and how we can use that knowledge to make better informed decisions around what we do here. The group's huge, right? GoodLife Group is enormous. So, and as an industry, change for us as an industry is extremely hard. So when you marry size and habit together, it can be, it's a lot to overcome, and can be quite overwhelming for businesses at times. But there is a desire to evolve and to innovate.
And where does it come from for GoodLife? Because I think it's pretty fair to say that success is sometimes your greatest weakness, and we've seen a lot of clubs, we won't name any, that have succeeded really, really well and lived on that success, but then not innovated, not changed, not constantly adapted. Where GoodLife has for years and years, constantly, and that's, I guess, key is bringing in people like yourselves to be able to drive that change. Is that fair? Is that what you feel within GoodLife?
Oh, dude, I wouldn't take all of the credit. That would be
no, but I'm speaking to you, so got to give you some.
Look, the thing with GoodLife and our exec team is that everybody is in the business, and what I mean by that is they're in there as members, as users, participating in workouts, in classes, having regular gym workouts is something that Patch is the example of. I mean, the dude, he's in his 70s.
Works out every day.
He works out every day. We know that he had a really unfortunate accident where he shattered his femur just over a year ago. And the recovery that he's been able to achieve is nothing short of astounding. And he absolutely attributes that to a healthy, active lifestyle. That if he did not have regular activity in his life, his recovery would have been a catastrophe, would have been significantly slower than it has been. He's, as you saw, I mean, I think you saw him in Sydney in December. He's around and doing really well. He's still a little bit frustrated that he's not out on the slopes again yet, but give the man his due. It will only be a matter of time, and he'll be there. So it comes from the top. He's an absolute advocate for healthy lifestyles. So we all participate. We're all regular. So to have that perspective from a member, in terms of what is the experience like when you get into the club? How clean is it? Are the machines all working? Is the video on demand the right content? Are the locker rooms clean? How are the staff engaging with us? All of those key elements we're keenly aware of because they're in front of us on a daily basis as users.
And then in terms of emerging trends and I'll be honest, embracing technologies and all the rest of it to meet the member needs. I guess you've always been able to reinvent that and find the right solutions for the members at the right time. What does, I don't want a prediction, but like what does the next kind of 2 years look like for GoodLife in that regard?
Cautious.
Okay.
And I say that as a preamble to our absolute commitment and intent to evolve and to innovate, but it's very easy to be distracted by the new shiny object.
Totally.
And to follow that path without truly understanding the implications of doing so and how that impacts the business, both from a corporate perspective, but also from the member's perspective. So I generally like to take a bit of a step back, look at what's going on, understand whether what we're looking at actually has an application or not. Does it have a benefit to either the business or the member, or ideally to both, before then exploring whether there is an opportunity to absorb that and embrace that into the business. Having said all of that, of course, it has to be built in the right way that it then interacts and connects to the other parts of the business that it's either dependent on or it's going to help to influence and enhance. So we're really careful not to be distracted, right?
Don't believe the hype, as they say sometimes. Well, actually, we did not plugging Morton's podcast, but we just did the content stats. And even though we see so much in terms of wellness and all the rest, and that's growing, don't get me wrong, but it still comes back to strength. 50% of the overall percentage of usage is strength, which is still that's the category that is consistently winning. And even though it might not have the hype cycle of High Rocks or all of these ones, but the usage just doesn't follow it. So it's I get you thinking, and then of course GoodLife has embraced virtual fitness for nearly 10 years, and how has it shifted the impact for member engagement and satisfaction, and I guess what is the feedback from the members about their virtual experiences?
Well, look, members vote with their feet, right? Our group fitness offering is still very, very popular and very well attended, both live and in person and on demand. I think the numbers for last year were around 285,000.
I was actually going to ask you this, like, how do you get that many on-demand plays? Like, there's nearly 300,000 on-demand plays through that club group. That's huge. That's definitely the top three. Like, is that a purpose? Like, talk to me about it. What's the strategy behind it? How do you get it?
Well, so we lean into it, right?
Yeah.
And we ensure that the clubs lean into it too.
Mm-hmm.
One of the strategies has been with respect to that member experience when they turn up for a class. In the unlikely, unfortunate event that an instructor is not available and is called out, we don't cancel the class. The class is then delivered virtual.
Yes.
And the manner in which we have set up virtual, the delivery of the content is second to none, world class. So it feels very immersive. And is therefore a great experience. Will it ever be completely equal to a live in-person experience? No, but it's, but what's the best workout? Well, the best workout is the workout that you'll do.
Correct. Whatever you'll move to. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, and I think, learning for us from a Wexer point of view, because of course we're always, as you know, big on scheduling. But the thing is, what we've seen is that, especially after live classes, how many people will use content in GoodLife for cool downs or recovery, or even doing the kind of a similar class again, before and or after. So they actually, in a way, the on-demand strategy kind of creates the patterns around the live strategy, which I think is great, and we haven't seen it as much because there usually is a schedule with group exercise directors or group exercise managers managing that to get habitual habits. But I think that's impressive, and kudos to the GoodLife group on that.
And look, we've only just really started. The longer term plans that you're aware of that I don't necessarily want to share, we'll see a greater adoption of that approach, which will include a little bit more outreach, acquisition strategies, those kinds of things that then really hone into the virtual aspect and how that can truly play into key elements of business, generating new sales, member satisfaction.
And you've actually got a cost metric that you measure in terms of how much virtual saves you per studio per year. I'll let you say the number. So how do you get to that?
God, what was the number? I think it was around 35. Was it 35?
35,000. Yeah.
35,000. So that's saving. That's annual. So that saving is how we've calculated that is what's the cost of the instructor. So if the class, if the class instructor is not able to turn up for that class, what would it have cost us for a replacement instructor to deliver the class against what it costs us to hit play?
Yeah, okay. That's a good figure. I had to get that out there. I'll take it. I appreciate you doing that work. And then I guess for you, like in terms of where do you see virtual fitness overall and managing so many diverse needs? Like every time I've gone into a GoodLife, you've got the biggest spectrum of particular members. How have you found virtual as a tool to be able to do that?
Well, we wanted to ensure that we had the right partner with the right content that has the broadest selection of content that speaks to any number of members, regardless of their demographic, right? And that that aggregated approach to content has been the solution. And it's really as simple as that, because whilst we all strive to please everybody all of the time, it is still a bit of an uphill struggle. And to be able to, how can I possibly furnish that range of instructors in any one facility compared to being able to select a video file and hit play? It would just be overwhelming.
Yeah, and then with own content creation, like you've dabbled into it, you've done it, you haven't done it, all the rest of it. Like where do you see the future of own content creation for GoodLife?
Look, I think used in the right capacity as a strategic acquisition play, and a retention play, it has its place. But for it to have its place, the instructors that we would need to leverage off to create compelling content would need to be somewhat exclusive. And what I mean by that is you can't make them available in their club 5, 6, 7 days a week, because they just kind of get lost in the wash of the schedule, right? In their heyday, you didn't the Eagles weren't playing at every
No.
bar in
Yes.
the southern states, right? It was
Yes.
concert halls, once a year. It's that kind of approach that I think drives that desire to absorb and utilize that content. Our members still like to see that there are GoodLife instructors that are available in that. But it's a bit of a feeder as well occasionally, because it feeds into all of the other content that's available. They get in through that path with instructors that they're familiar with, who then can actually drive participation in the clubs if they're virtual. But it also drives consumption of other libraries of content within the platform.
Yeah, no, nice. And then thinking, now I do want some predictions from you here, Nat. 5 to 10 years in terms of, or just where the fitness industry is, not just digital. Like, I guess what are you worried about, and what are you excited about in the next 5 to 10 years for GoodLife?
The same thing, AI.
Okay.
It worries me and it excites me. It worries me because there is the risk of it trying to play too much of a role in the delivery of what we're doing in club, that then could potentially alienate both existing members and prospective new members, right? The reason that
too much of a lean into supporting or inspiring with AI rather than actually physical. Yeah.
Right. And the reason most of us get into health and fitness and continue our journeys in health and fitness is because it's a people business. It's about connection. It's about community. If you try and artificially create that, it's going to have a very short shelf life. So AI, I'm keeping an eye on AI. I think the application of AI needs to be very carefully considered and understood. Can it replace everything that we do in the industry? Absolutely not. Are there some what I would call housekeeping, servicing parts that can be replaced by AI? For example, finding out if a class is still on.
Sure.
Is the club open? Can you help direct me to updating my my banking information? That kind of stuff. Sure. There should always be that layer of human interaction that takes over at the right point in time, including for PT. I think there is a huge opportunity for PT with AI, but in the right manner. Who's creating the programs, right? Is there a way to get all of our members access to effective exercise programming that then flows into a lead funnel for a PT?
Do you think the trainers, we've gone through the history of custom fit with our things, and of course that didn't have AI. That was all trying to help the trainer automate services. But do you think the trainers will be just too reluctant to use AI for a long period? That's going to be a little bit of the downfall in terms of the change management?
Well, I think it depends on how they view it. Do they view it as a threat, or do they view it as an enhancement? Is it something that they can use as a tool in order to make their businesses more effective or not? And I also think we need to consider how much influence we're going to give them in AI. For example, does Steve have his own library of programs that AI then utilizes and distributes amongst members who are looking for that kind of programming? Now I've included Steve in the process. He feels that this is a great opportunity and a tool for him, and it turns him into a bit of a superstar in a similar vein to on-demand content with group fitness instructors. Right?
It makes sense.
And I think as we continue to look at what the future holds as well, data is going to continue to be extremely important, both for the business but also for the member. They're looking for performance metrics. They're looking to see where they're actually improving. Is this painful thing that I'm doing, going to the gym 3 times a week, actually having a positive effect on my health and well-being or not? And we get to show that through data.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. Like on a health side, I recently did have a few health checks and stuff like that, and I put it all. And once I got all my results, I put it all into ChatGPT, just to have a look, just to see how good it was, and it told me. And then I asked it to give me my recommendations because I had I had a little bit of high cholesterol, so it's like, okay, tell me from my current patterns what I currently do. I uploaded it all, and it was actually, it's pretty impressive. Like I was, I've always kind of been AI is more of a tool to help automation
Right.
and solve automation things. This now is getting prescriptive a lot better than if you're giving the right data, you're going to do it, and that's where I think we should all lean into, right? Because that's what we need to either again support or inspire. But of course, if people have a health issue, you've got 99 problems, but if you've got a health issue, you've got one. So then, and actually really leaning into that and supporting them, because I still don't feel as an industry we do enough, but we probably don't understand enough to support them, because we're just the movement specialists rather than being the actual helping the prescription of reducing cholesterol, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, and look, I think if we do that, excluding our professionals, our fitness instructors, our personal trainers, then we run the risk of it being downplayed and ignored by those people. You walk into the fitness club and say, look, ChatGPT has recommended that I follow this exercise program. Well,
yes.
I don't want to listen to GPT. Let me share a bit of bro science with you, and or help you to achieve your goals. I think taking a slightly different route and getting them involved and immersed in it, and allowing them to contrip to the solutions that we deliver through an AI experience will be the best way to get them to.
It was a joke from a friend of mine saying, how do you know a newbie in a gym now? Because they're walking around with a piece of paper from ChatGPT. But the thing is, I think that's where I think it's actually an okay thing, because at least it got them into the gym. And then once they get connected into classes, or they find a community that they like training with, or they find a PT, like that was the starting point. So I don't actually think it's that bad of a thing. I think it's actually, in a way, it's a feeder, similar to virtual, right? Like in terms of it's a feeder to live classes. I think the same in terms of information and programming can be a feeder into the actual real stuff.
Oh, quite. But I think the key there is joining those dots. You can't leave it open, because unfortunately, and I'm sure you've seen this too, that new generation of personal trainers that we have coming through the business are not really keyed into how to sell. They may be great trainers, but they're not great at sales. So they're not necessarily naturally going to approach somebody who's got a piece of paper in their hand and seems to be following the program, right? But if you've been able to join the dots and present that individual as a lead for them, well, then that's a different experience, and that's a different conversation to be had with your PTs.
Yeah. And then I just want to get your view on GLP-1s as well. Like, so I think I saw 9% of Canadians are taking GLP-1s, which I actually didn't believe, but that's the stat. So that's a lot. So like, is that something to lean into? Have you seen, like, or are they using? Yeah.
But that actually feeds into a comment that you made earlier with the prevalence and popularity of strength training, because GLP-1 is starting to recognize, well, hang on a minute, this is great, but I'm also losing muscle mass. Right. So is there a desire to lean into that? At 100%. But, much of it is also predicated on getting the right educational information out there that supports. Yes, your GLP-1 is great, but in order for it to be part of your overall wellness journey, you still need to come to the gym and do some strength training.
Totally. And I think we're seeing that. I think, there's not too many longitude studies, but like fitness and health has been way more, and I get it, because, if you're taking it, you feel better, you want to work out, you still got vanity probably motivating you, as you start to lose a lot, you want to move more. I think our industry hasn't probably leaned into it enough yet, in terms of clarity of. And I know it's a bit of a stigma, because no one's going to join a GLP-1 class or anything like that. So you're going to have to do it in a smart marketing way. But it'll just be interesting how much that's already filtered into Canadian gyms already. Because again, if 9% of people are taking these GLP-1s, that's a lot. Adult.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I'm sure you've come across them as well in your time at Gymbox. member who's a little bit reluctant to sign up and is, will frequently make the comment, "Can you just give me a pill I could take where I could lose all of this?" Right? Isn't there an easier way?
Now there is.
And now there is. But there's a price to pay for the easier way, and we can shun it or we can embrace it. And if we embrace it and provide the balance that's necessary in order to have that complete holistic approach to wellness, well, then we're sure to win. I'm sure we all know there's a boutique brand out there that claims to be leaning into GLP-1s and providing additional strength training. It's always been a part of what we do. And if you come into a GoodLife Fitness club today, you'll see that the provision of strength training equipment far outweighs the provision of cardio equipment.
Yeah. I saw that with my own eyes. And then, Ned, I guess, how do people connect with you and actually what events are you going to this year?
Where will I be this year? So connect with me through LinkedIn is usually the easiest way to do it. I'll be at FIBO, as I always am. I'll be at the Beyond Active events. Of course, CamFit Pro in August. Everybody's invited. And the Elevate shows as well.
Nice. Well, look, Ned, I appreciate you jumping on, sharing your insights, and appreciate everything you've done for the industry as well. You've definitely, I don't know, every organization you've touched, you've improved, my friend. So, congratulations on your career as well. I don't want to get too morbid because you still got to go, but and there's a lot to still do. But well done.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the invitation.
Cheers, Ned.